to Dachiachan, Adnachatsaki. Plan, speak, you do the song, and get cleaned up. Plan, the plan. I stand, you do the song, and get cleaned up. Plan, du ich, anfängt auf Heiligkeit. Ja, du du sagen, denke ich deine. Als ich komme, schied gedacht Heiligkeit. Als ich den Plan, schaste, du sagen, denke ich deine. Keks ID. My name is Marie Olson. I grew up speaking Tlingit. So you can imagine my first day in school, it was quite a shock because I couldn't understand what the teacher was telling me. As a result, I was punished by standing in the corner. And for me, that was torture because I was a very active child. I started school in June, although my first experience going to school was in SOK. I admired the fact that my older sister was going to school and I wanted to go too, so I went along with her. It ended up my father came down. Jimmy Williams was his English name. He came down and packed me out of that classroom. And to me that was embarrassing because I wanted to go to school. That was in second. When we came to Juneau, I was delighted to know that I could go to school. I could start school in Juneau, but it was a traumatic experience to have to try to speak a language that I never understood. I went to boarding school, Wrangell Institute, for 2 years. I enjoyed that very much because I met Alaskan natives from all over Alaska. I heard their different languages, and none of them had to stand in the corner because they were speaking their language. I finished high school in Seattle, Washington, my last year, and I was surprised when the principal of the high school that I was going to, Garfield High School in Seattle, when they looked at my transcript, he said, "Well, you're almost ready to graduate, but you haven't had botany, you haven't had the science, you haven't had the language, you haven't had algebra." And so that's what I took. I took botany as a science. I I took algebra that I learned to love, and I took a language other than mine, which was Spanish. And I was fascinated with learning Spanish because the grammar in Spanish is similar to the English language. I came back home after I graduated, and I wanted to continue school. And I found out that I could not continue school. I wanted to go to college. And when I went down to the VIA, I found out the only thing I could take was hairdressing, secretarial work, something like that. And I told the fellow that was interviewing me, I said, that's not what I need. I want to go to the Lakewood College. Well, that didn't happen because they didn't have college for Alaskan Natives. So back to Seattle I went, took some classes the hard way, one at a time, because I found out going to college was too expensive. I think I've been going to school the rest of my life because when I continued, I kept going to, I had a job in San Francisco, and after school, after my job, I continued taking one class at a time. And because of my union activities, I was able to compete with a lot of other people, namely Black people, Spanish people, Chinese people, and I was the only Native American in that group. That taught me that I'm not so different. I enjoyed working with the Black people, although when they all elected me the chair for the 20 people, and I knew enough about parliamentary procedure to find out, to know that when a motion was made, I put that motion out of order. And you can imagine the 14 Black people jumping up and yelling at me and said I couldn't do that. I couldn't put them out of order, and there was nothing I could do to convince them. It was not them, it was what they were saying. That took the fear out of me because I knew I was right when I was talking about the emotion. But that didn't help. The next day they elected somebody else for the chair. I came back home, 1972, after 1 year at Berkeley. I enjoyed a whole year of full scholarship. And that was enough to whet my curiosity about what a university was all about. Unfortunately, when I came back home, I came back because I married somebody who was working in this University of Alaska, Saudis, and living in cosmopolitan California and being able to go to a lot of other states down there. I enjoyed the freedom that I had down there to be able to speak to anyone on the street I wanted to. That was, to me, very exciting. Anyway, I came back home and started taking classes at the university. I finished an Associate of Arts. I think maybe it was a short honors. And in the meanwhile, I began to join the big Tlingit community because my Aunt Emma Olson, she always told me to tell people her last name is spelled with an E, Olson, and I always did. And I still do today because my last name is spelled with an O. She had me join the Alaska Native Sisterhood, and I did. I think I've been elected to a lot of the offices, starting from second vice president, first vice, and finally the president, representing Alaska Native Sisterhood Camp 2. That was a challenging step for me because I had to learn to deal with a lot of other women, Tlingit women, and it was sometimes not easy, but each year they always elected me to something. And one of them was being a delegate to the Alaska Native Sisterhood Convention that was met with the Alaska Native Brotherhood. They instructed me what to say, what to do, what the resolutions were going to be about, and I met that challenge. My mentor in the Alaska Native Sisterhood Camp 2 was Cecilia Coons. Cecilia Coons, to me, was the matriarch of the Indian village. She knew everything and everybody. She knew the Tlingit language. She asked me to help her to do a native place names program. And she told me, only in Juneau area, not those islands out there. It has to be only in the Juneau area. And that's what we did. And it took quite a while because some of those places I did not know or hear about. Mainly, there were no streets. Well, maybe there were some streets. I noticed that Yontakin, the road going out to the airport, is saying this is the way to the airport. And there were some other Tlingit names, but we did the area around Juneau, and one of the first ones was Gold Creek, and by then I had learned in studying the Tlingit language through nation stories, native words. I studied the writing system myself and the sounds because having known this language, the only language that I knew, Tlingit, I could read and write, learn how to spell the words, and it took a while before we finished the project. Started with Gold Creek. Gold Creek is called Santikahini, where the flounder meet or congregate at the entrance to Gold Creek. Now that was easy to do, Santikahini, but the one that I had such a difficult time was the little creek that leads to
Schweitzer?
Yeah, Schweitzer Creek, that where the school was, the new school that was being built there. They were going to give it the Tlingit name. And they I think the girls that asked me to help with that was Renata Caliente. And they chose the term Santikahini. And there was, came up against a lot of people that said, you can't use that. And why not? Well, it's too hard, it's too difficult. Who's going to learn how to say Santikahini? The school board met and I went there and I spoke in favor of Santikahini and told them how, when you break down the name, it's not really that difficult. Well, today we have a school that has Santikahini. That was the beginning. The place names that really was extremely difficult for me was that other little creek that goes up behind, past by the school, Santikahini, was Eshkusheen. And my argument at the school board was, at least you can say, anyone can say Santikahini when you break it down. And it's much better than Eshkusheen, which for me was even a little bit difficult. Now, I can say it now because I've been practicing. I knew that. So, beautiful little creek that goes by the school, and it's the creek that has winter coho at the head. Winter coho at the head. It goes by that whole field of kook. Kook is a word for rice, Indian rice. And that whole field was just covered with Indian rice. And the people that know flowers would call that the chocolate lily. I enjoyed working with Cecilia, and we had a lot of laughs because sometimes I just she told me. And yes, we have maybe about 25.
Oh, way more.
Way more. Yeah, because I gave those simple names to Richard. Place names. I thought place names project would be a neat project for the language, because when I lived in this house, wherever I went, there were native names in California and on the East Coast, in New Mexico, Arizona, where native names were being used and being spelled out. And there were actual signs using those native names. Cecilia and I worked on a few of those names, and I can't remember where they are because it seemed they would, the city would ask Cecilia, and then she would call me up and she said, we got another one. So we studied the language, the place together, and her method of getting the names was to describe the area. She described the area, and then she would tell me, in order for me to write it down, what some of the words, Tlingit words meant. And yes, it was describing the area. We didn't have any names, Tlingit names for people, not any words. We had a name for a playground that was out the road, and then some other names, Tlingit names for streets. That's the project that I did with Cecilia Coons. She was my mentor, and I learned so much more than the language. I learned the culture, the moiety system that we have is very complex. The moiety system in all of the villages, and there's only two, that's what the French word means, two, raven and eagle wolf. At certain times when the Clinton Haida Indians of Alaska had a meeting in Juneau, every time they had a convention, there were a lot of students that would come, not students, delegates that would come and visit Cecilia because they didn't know their name, and she would ask them what's your mother's name. From there, she got whether they were raven or eagle, and she knew the names that belonged to certain clans. There are raven clan names, eagle clan names, and none of them could cross each other. And the customs that depended on the clan system. I grew up under that clan system. There was a time when I went away to high school, Randall Institute. The second year I came home, my mother said, how did you like school? I loved it. I could hardly wait to go back. But, I had to go to work in a camry in order earn my own clothes. Second time I came home, my mother asked me again how I liked school. I really loved it because I've never had so many different friends that were Athabascan, Eskimo, Aleut, and from different parts of the territory of Alaska. That was exciting. Our foods were similar and yet very different. Our customs were similar but yet very different. Second year, when I came back home, I told my mother I had a boyfriend. And she said, "What's his name?" I told her. She said, "That's not Plinkett." Oh, well, I know, no, it's not. He's from Metlakatla. She said, "Toot's son? You mean Cynthia?" That was a big no-no for me. I learned to abide by that. Anyway, that's my school life, but also in learning to work with Cecilia in the place names project. Later on, that began to spread around. Pretty soon I saw place names in the Kogana that Goldbelt put out, and another one in the Taiga Mountain Plains. And then I think Tom Thornton came over and asked me some names. That was okay, because it's very important to me, very important for our language to be known and recognized, not only by the people in Alaska, but by the people down south. When I was living in the Bay Area, San Francisco area, I had perpetual suntan, and they would ask me what I was, or they would ask me if I was Filipino. I said no. I was like Greek, no. Italian, no. Korean, no. I didn't like that. I would tell them I'm Plinkett. And then their comment used to irritate me because they couldn't say it. They said, Plinkett, what's that? I think everybody in the United States knows who and what a Plinkett is. And that's me. Thank you. Jeez.